Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and we welcome you to Kentucky Newsmakers. Kentucky's public university and college presidents find themselves in the difficult position of hoping to accomplish things and work together with a new governor while also pushing back against his proposed budget cuts. They have absorbed numerous cuts in public support from the state since the recession hit back in 2008. Most of them long believed that the money would be restored when the economy improved. Many of our neighboring states are increasing money for higher education. But Governor Matt Bevin says he was elected to get Kentucky's financial house in order. He points out the billions of dollars that Kentucky is short on its pension funds, which he says is weighing the whole state down. And Bevin has resolved to fix it by tightening the belt. University presidents say a 4.5% immediate cut and 9% cuts each of the budget years would be very difficult for them to absorb. They're painting a picture of what they say they would have to do. At Morehead State University on Friday, they talked about possible tuition hikes and cuts that would have to be made on campus. KCTS's president, Dr. Jay Box, who has specific numbers saying that tuition would probably have to go up by almost 9%. In this clip, you'll hear brief excerpts of testimony by EKU President Dr. Michael Benson, KSU President Raymond Burse, who says his institution is already struggling, and finally from Governor Bevin, who explains why he feels it is tough medicine that Kentucky needs.
That will choke off access. So when you look at that service region, and the one thing that can change a person's life is access to particularly public higher education. To choke that off really forecloses on that population any chances for the future. So the inevitable impact, Mr. Chairman, is going to be on our students.
Where we are today struggling, those cuts would put us in an untenable position in terms of being able to operate. That's not to say we won't be able to operate, because we'll make the necessary changes and adjustment. But what did we require for Kentucky State to do is pretty stringent in where we're going. We as an institution realize the reality that we're facing, but each day we make the changes, we make the operational decisions and do the tough things that need to do there. And we would appreciate your support, your help in helping Kentucky State and helping all of the institutions, because I think, as each of the previous presidents said, we're united in regards to the budget cuts and their impact on our institutions and asking that. The additional thing for Kentucky State is that we're not only asking for no budget cuts, but we also have put before a tuition stabilization plan designed to address our declining enrollment. And so that our survivability will be enhanced by getting that tuition stabilization funds as well. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
It is important to also understand that we in this state have a tremendous financial crisis. It is a financial crisis, and while it would be great to just sit here and only focus on the proclamation and only focus on the happiest parts of this, the testimony that has just taken place and that will continue to take place in the House, in the Senate, as people come to terms with a budget, has to deal with reality. And the reality is that we have a cost of tens and tens of billions of dollars that every one of the students at this institution and its many arms and every other institution in this state, public and private, and every member of our society has a financial obligation to pay off this bill, tens of billions of dollars. We have four sources, four ways in which we can potentially address this issue. We can ignore it, which is not acceptable. We've done too much of that. We can borrow from the future, sticking it to the future students of this institution to pay for things that we're unwilling to come up with savings for today. So we borrow it and stick it to our children and grandchildren. We can tax everybody, increase the actual taxes on all of you and the prices on all of us, including those students at this institution. That's option number 3. Option number 4 is that we can cut 9 cents out of 1/3 of the dollar. Now I understand this happens to be one of the parts of the 1/3, so it's 9 cents out of the dollar that's being proposed. Those are the only 4 options we have.
Governor Matt Bevin, he was talking to KCTCS supporters who showed up at the state capitol at the time, explaining where he stands on these budget cuts that he has proposed. Now, when we come back, EKU President Dr. Michael Benson joins us. He will talk about the challenges higher ed is facing and about some happenings on his campus. We're back on Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers from WKYT. Eastern Kentucky University President Dr. Michael Benson is here. He's one of the higher education leaders who spent time in Frankfort testifying about the benefits of a better educated workforce. At EKU, Benson has been president since August of 2013, and it has been full steam ahead. He has numerous construction projects underway on campus. There's a comprehensive plan that calls for even more changes and upgrades. Enrollment is near an all-time high. The institution has several programs with national distinction, including law enforcement. Can Eastern and other institutions keep growing and meeting their missions if state funding continues to be reduced? Where else can public universities turn for money when their state assistance is shrinking? President Benson is joining us, and we thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for the invite, Bill.
You said the one thing that's interesting is that you have been here before in your career, in your past presidencies, where the budget situation was very tight and you faced potential cuts.
The first one, I was named president at age 36, 60 days after 9/11. So that was a really interesting period in kind of the historical arc of our country. And then the second was January 2007, and now here we are in February 2016. And so I've had a little bit of experience. I think one important thing that a chief executive has to do is to portray a sense of calm and reassure our population, particularly on campus, that, you know, that we were founded in 1874. Our roots go back a long, long way. And EKU, Central University in 1874, was founded by people with some moxie and some vision and some steel in their backbones. So we're going to make it through this. It's going to be difficult. But we've survived for a long time, and we're going to survive this.
I want to talk to you about the climate that all of public higher education is facing and operating under right now. Here is a governor who is facing these huge pension liabilities, and he promised to address that. Higher education has had years of cuts in its funding, going back to the recession in 2008, and we're hoping to get back closer to the at least pre-recession levels of support. You indicate the governor is continuing to have dialogue, and what are your best hopes, what are your concerns at this moment?
Well, first off, I credit the governor for taking on a very difficult situation. You know, the bills come due on this pension issue, and it looms over all of our heads. And he's been, I think, very forthright in saying, look, this is a difficult thing to do, but we've got to do it. He's also engaged all the presidents on a regular basis, and I commend him for that. He wants to continue the dialogue and hear what our concerns are. He's told us, look, I know you're going to get up in front of committees and have to testify on behalf of your institutions and say what these cuts will mean, which we've done. His budget is out there now. The House, what we're hearing, and the House is going to come back with probably a different version, and then of course the Senate, and then it goes to conference committee. So there's 60 days left, maybe I think 59 today, and the fact of the matter is there's a long way to go, and a lot of dialogue and a lot of compromise I think will be made. But still in all, you know, I respect the fact that the governor has put out his budget, and now the legislative branch has a chance to take a swipe at it, and we'll see what happens.
What are your options if you face a cut like this? Is a tuition hike likely?
More likely than not. When we're looking at efficiencies that can be realized, how we can streamline our operation. You mentioned at the outset that we've had to withstand cuts for the last several years. I showed a slide yesterday to a committee that I testified before that showed all of our surrounding states and the differences in investment in higher education that they've made. You know, case in point, in Tennessee, the governor, their version of the CPE, the Council on Post-Secondary Education, recommended a $25 million increase for higher education in new money. The governor came back and said, no, we're going to double that. Over $50 million that he's putting back into higher ed. They recognize the importance of investing in human capital in the form of public higher education. And there are a lot, I understand there are a lot of needs in our state, but to invest in our citizens, I think, is one of the wisest things we can do.
Well, both political parties say they want to continue to create high-paying jobs in Kentucky. Is a highly educated workforce a good predictor of economic success for a state?
It is. I think it's probably the ultimate barometer. You look at companies that want to invest in the state, they look at, of course, infrastructure and tax benefits, but they look at your workforce. at what level of education or training does that workforce have? In a lot of ways, that's the thing that tips the scale in favor of a state in terms of attracting a manufacturing company, various industries to one state, is how educated is your workforce. And an investment in that human capital, I think, is the most important thing we can do.
Is one of the challenges right now, as you look at the totality of this, the fact that these cuts have been ongoing. This started when the recession hit back in 2008. The previous governor, to balance the budget, made cuts across state government, and now is that cumulative toward the universities?
It is. If you take a look at the cuts in the aggregate, it has been, you know, a 25% decrease in our state funding. And I said to a group the other day, I said, we're unfortunately treating tuition like a consumption tax. Now, a consumption tax, I'm no economist, but I understand some basic principles. And a consumption tax usually suggests that one consumes a service or a good, and it benefits that individual. Tuition, yes, is paid by a student, but we all benefit from an educated populace. The more education one has, the less reliant that person is on health and human services, the better their health will be, the more inclined they are to participate and vote and run for office and volunteer. So there are all these collateral benefits that come from educating and investing in our population. So I don't ever want us to think that tuition only benefits that student. It benefits the entire Commonwealth.
I'm sure you've been asked this in your testimony, as well as you know, the general public will ask the question, are there other places that our public institutions can turn for funding besides state government and the funding they receive from Frankfurt?
Well, of course, the fallback has been tuition. And it's not like we can go out and raise property taxes or levy some other tax. Again, it's paying the freight that students do in the form of tuition or fees. But to saddle students with additional tuition and debt, we try our best at EKU to graduate as many undergraduates as possible with as little debt as possible. If you want to get into debt for graduate school, that's something I had to do and a lot of students have to do. But our goal really is to take those students from our service area, and if you look at our demographic, 89% of our students at the undergraduate level at EKU are Kentuckians, and they're from that service area. And our job is to get them through the door, through a program as quickly and as efficiently as we can, and with as little debt as possible.
Is it, and I know you know fundraising well, and you have a whole arm of your university that does that, but is it reasonable to conclude that you can get enough money that people will voluntarily give to the schools they support to help offset costs?
Well, to give you an idea, I mean, we raised, I think, $4.5 million last year. Our state appropriation is $68 million. So it takes a lot of private money to make up that difference. Still in all, the most important money I believe we can raise is scholarship money to provide opportunities for those students from our service area to have access to education.
And do people often restrict their gifts when they give?
They do.
You? Yeah.
I mean, our endowment's just north of $60 million, and about 95% of that is restricted. It's donors, when they give us those funds, they say specifically, I want this to go to scholarship X. And it's not like we can spend it on something else. It can't go to operating expenses or recurring expenses.
The budget cuts, you know, appear to be for this cycle, is what the governor is proposing. After that, he says he wants to work with higher education leaders to formulate outcome-based funding, he calls it. What do you take that to mean? He says he will involve the university leaders in that.
And he has, and to his credit, he said, I want you to be participants around the table and have members of my staff and himself involved. It really kind of boils down to being held to a standard. Are we doing what we promise the citizens of Kentucky we're going to do? Take their sons and daughters, grandchildren, and educate them, get them employable skills, and to be held to a retention or a graduation rate or getting credit for certain kinds of degrees. So performance-based funding is, yes, it's employed a lot of different places in a lot of different states. Our challenge is we're still developing those metrics by which we'll be held to a certain standard, and that's going to be a little bit of a process.
But one of those that he seems to be concerned about is, are the universities doing a good job of matching the programs that they are offering to the jobs that are available in Kentucky? Would you agree that's an area that needs further tweaking?
Yes, I do agree with that to a certain extent, but I also don't want to foreclose the opportunity for students to study whatever they want to study. But to be up front with them in the front end and say, look, if you want to go into whatever it is, these are your job prospects. You know, the great majority of our jobs our degrees at EKU, we call them first responders. It's the criminal justice, it's the safety, it's fire safety, it's police, it's social workers, it's nurse practitioners, it's nursing, it's occupational therapy. So these are degrees that we believe, and the numbers bear it out, students will get out of their education when they put into it and have a job waiting for them in the workforce.
And may go to somewhere else besides Kentucky as
exactly.
well, right? Yeah.
But also 76% of our students, after a certain period of time, are employed in Kentucky. And that's the highest among the comprehensives as well.
We keep hearing as well that employers are really having a difficult time in finding employees with so-called essential skills, what used to be called soft skills, you know, punctuality, grooming, personal communications. Are colleges doing enough to focus on making their graduates ready for the workforce?
We had a Colonels of the Capitol Day on Wednesday, and the Model Lab School sent some 12-year-old students up, and one of the students asked me, he said, what are you doing to prepare students today for the jobs that don't even exist? And he used a statistic that 65% of the jobs in 10 years.
The 12-year-old asked you this question?
He did. He asked me this question. You know, what are you doing to prepare students today for those jobs that do not exist? I said, well, it really boils down to, can you communicate? Can you write? Can you get along with people? To your point, are you clean and punctual and sharp? You know, what they call soft skills that I believe come in the form of a broad liberal arts education, where one reads the best literature and writes and reasons and communicates effectively. So it can come in any number of disciplines. I happen to be the product of a liberal arts background, English and history and political science, and it stood me in very good stead. But I also believe you get out of college what you put into it. And the onus falls to the student to get the most out of it. And I tell our students all the time, you are incredibly fortunate to have the privilege to be at a university and study, when the great majority of the world's population does not have that opportunity.
President Burse was making reference to the fact that he feels that the university presidents are united at this point in trying to send this message, and it really gives them an opportunity to tell what they're doing right now in the state, and to get the legislature's attention and the governor's focus on where higher education may be going coming up next. Do you agree that the presidents are united?
I do. I mean, there are certain things around which we don't always agree. But still in all, on this particular issue, we're shoulder to shoulder. We've gone up and lobbied collectively and individually. And I say it's our First Amendment right, you know, assembly, speech, the press, but the latter part of the First Amendment, and I remind my students all the time, we have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And we did it on Wednesday with the 125 Madison Countyans. They went up from the Chamber of Commerce and the university, and we'll continue to do that. And I respect those that run for office and take time away from their jobs and families and careers to represent us. But they have to hear our voice, and we do it respectfully. We do it in we hope, a productive and an efficient manner. But they have to hear from us, and that's our job.
EKU President Michael Benson is our guest on Kentucky Newsmakers. Now, in just a moment, we'll talk about some of the things going on specifically on his campus, some of the plans he has. We're back on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers in just a moment. We welcome you back to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We're visiting this morning with EKU President Dr. Michael Benson. We have been talking about really higher education at large and how the university presidents right now are concerned about proposed budget cuts and how that might impact their campuses. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on at EKU, one of the largest regional universities in the state. You have several construction projects underway, Mr. President. You've raised a dorm to build another, hoping to replace the almost 60-year-old model lab school with put your education department, as I understand it, inside of that. Are big ticket items like that likely to get done in this climate?
I'll start with the latter part of your question, and that is Model Lab School. We're certainly hoping for state funding this year, but it doesn't look like capital requests from the state will be funded. That said, we have plenty of other projects going on that we're funding with other sources, whether it's a P3, public-private partnership, or with our student fees that the students passed last year for a new rec center and the renovation, finally, of the Powell building that was built in 1971. Our food vendor shortly will announce plans for a significant capital investment on that front. So I sent a note out to campus saying, I don't want you to confuse these projects thinking they're coming from one pot of money and we're having to cut our budget. They are coming from a wholly different pot of money and different source of funds. And they will continue on unabated. And it's important for us to refresh our campus and revitalize a campus that in many ways was built during the tenure of Robert R. Martin back in the 60s, when the square footage increased 4 or 5-fold. And dealing with that aging infrastructure poses some unique challenges, and we're trying our best to fix these acute challenges and make campus a place where students want to come and want to be successful and want to stay over the weekend. As you know, it is a suitcase college when I talk about EKU, and we're trying our best to keep students in Richmond involved throughout the week.
We mentioned the dorm that has been raised in your building, another, and that was Martin Hall, by the way. You recently opened up a time capsule, and there was a lot about Dr. Martin's first years as president there.
Yes, sir, there was, and we told the contractor, please be very careful, and behind the cornerstone, chances are you're going to find something. And lo and behold, it was a copper box constructed in 1961 by our facilities folks, and the papers in there were in pristine condition. There was a copy of his inaugural address, and some of the things really haven't changed. You know, decreased state funding, international conflict, some of the kind of flare-ups with students that were accounted in the Eastern Progress and the Richmond Register, the newspapers in there. But it was a great event. We had over 300 students that showed up to see what was in there. And I said, in the new Martin Hall that we'll be constructing shortly, we're going to put another time capsule, put some of those materials in there along with what's going on now in 2016.
That's great. You have what you call a comprehensive plan for the campus going forward. Share with us what you can about what that may be. I understand that you might like to change even some of the pedestrian and road traffic and routes around campus.
Well, we had a group out of Virginia that helped us with our campus master plan, and they told us the vehicle dominates your campus. And sure, people like to have a parking place right in front of their building or their dorm, their residence hall. In point of fact, we are trying to make our campus much more pedestrian friendly. Push that vehicular traffic more to the perimeter. Yes, have a shuttle service that can take students to and fro, but make it more navigable on foot. And so that entails increasing the entry points and making them aesthetically more pleasing. One right now at Barnes Mill Road in Lancaster, Turner Gate is under construction. We'll cut the ribbon on that here shortly. But as you drive around campus, hopefully you'll see some of these things coming out of the ground, some of the refresh that's happening on campus.
You have record enrollment at this point,
do.
you were telling me.
Yes, sir.
Your justice and safety law enforcement programs have a national reputation. How important is it to have centers of excellence on campus?
Well, the center that you're referring to across the bypass, you could drive through Richmond and see a squad car from just about every community at any given time, because they come back for their retraining and recertification. And it's a wonderful thing. But our criminal justice program is our program of distinction, and agencies across the world are seeking our graduates. We certainly like to keep them in Kentucky, but it speaks to the quality of the program that they want our graduates.
And aviation, interestingly, is a growing program at EKU, and you continue to seek opportunities for your graduates there, and more people seem to want in that program, right?
We could double the capacity if we had the wherewithal, the resources to do it. You know, the two top programs in the country are Embry-Riddle, University of North Dakota, EKU is number 3. And we're just limited on space, whether it's hangar space or facilities out at the airport. But there is a 500,000 pilot shortage looming on the horizon over the next 8 to 10 years. And our task is to be responsive to that need and to be one of those centers of excellence with our aviation program, the only one in the state. And our goal is to fly the EKU flag on every regional airport in Kentucky and take our program to those people that want it in Madisonville or Owensboro or any place else in the Commonwealth.
So you push out to some of those
Yes, sir.
those airports and some of those other
Correct.
areas. And jobs are available, it sounds like, in that.
They are.
All right, sports. You have a lot going on there. You have some new coaches, and as I understand, you're still focused on trying to climb to the next level in the NCAA.
We are. However, the budget situation has kind of caused us to say, hey, you know, let's stay where we are for now. If the opportunity presents itself and we're ready, we'll consider it then. But we've got to be careful stewards and do this in a very kind of educated and informed way.
You like your new coaches that are
I do.
all there in place?
And the past coaching staffs have done a great job. We have some new coaches in football and baseball and basketball, and it's an exciting time to be a colonel.
But you told me something interesting. That one of your top programs is cross country, right?
It is. Coach Urban's been here for almost 40 years, and I took my son Talmadge to the national championship, finished 17th in the country.
One interesting thing about you is the way you engage people in social media. And it's obvious you like to deliver good news, but also students will tweet you and say, there's a problem in one of the dorms, and you're very responsive to it.
I get tweets, you know, my cable's out, you know, the toilet in our dorms plugged up, can you help? And so I'll forward it to our facilities people, and that's how students communicate today. I can't respond to everything, but I try my best.
As we leave our discussion today, what thought would you leave with people on the importance of higher education, your concerns, and how you'll get through this if, in fact, the budget cuts are deemed to be necessary by the legislature?
Well, Kentucky has a long and a rich history of commitment to public higher education and to private education. We have wonderful institutions throughout our state. And I sincerely hope the citizens of Kentucky realize what prizes these are. I mean, what jewels they are in their respective communities. And that as a state, we can continue to invest in them and invest more importantly in our students, because they're our future. Human capital is the greatest thing we have.
Thank you, Dr. Michael Benson, President of EKU. Appreciate you coming by.
My pleasure.
Well, thank you for joining us for this edition of Kentucky Newsmakers on WKYT. We're planning to have a little session about the upcoming Republican caucus on our program next week. That'll be the program before that caucus will be held on Saturday, March 5th. So that should be an interesting discussion, and also some other things we'll be talking about then. Hope you'll join us bright and early for WKYT this morning. We start at 4:30, and we also hope you make it a good week ahead.